What's up, YouTube? Today we've got a fun little thing to talk about. There's been a lot of conversation surrounding Epic Games / Psyonix in regards to communication, letting us know more about what's going on. There's been a lot of concern in the past about how they don't tend to communicate with us enough, and ironically enough, 3 days ago, Psyonix did a Q&A. They actually took a bunch of their people, a couple designers, a graphics engineer, a senior artist, an art director, studio co-head, some of the people from the esports team, and some people from the community team, and sat down and did a Reddit Q&A. And I'm actually really interested to hear some of the questions, not only that they were asked, but also their responses. They did talk about the new community update, new free play ball control with the console variants that kind of get some Bacchus mod additions, the Haunted Hollows event, and obviously RLCS coming up. So they have pretty much different facets from every different part of the company. As much as people would like to think that Psyonix is always only focusing on cosmetics, there is a bunch of different disciplines in the company. So it is going to be cool to see different people answer different things. A lot of people that we really don't get to hear from, like Durkand and stuff, because they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we're going to jump into it. We're going to do a little bit of React to Andy today and check out and see what some of these answers are. I have not seen any of these. I have not watched or paid attention or seen literally any of these. So this is gonna be 100% off the cuff, candid, which I think you guys always prefer. So let's jump into the Q&A. We've also got chat hanging out, saying very nice things about my YouTube. We just hit 40k subs. Appreciate y'all. If you guys enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. You know how it goes. So Q&A time. Can you believe we're over 1 million strong on the subreddit? That's actually crazy. I didn't know the Rocket League. I never go on the Rocket League subreddit because it's just clips, but over 1 million on the subreddit. That's actually pretty nasty. So they talk about who's going to be joining us: Josh, Nate, Adam, Jason, Corey, Ian, and Murdy, Ted, and Dirk. So AMA, bunch of different questions. We got to find ones that have responses in them. In casual post-game lobbies, if a party member leaves to the menu, the other party members can get stuck in a new game without their teammate. Why is it like this? Now that there's casual bans, it's very common annoyance because they can't always leave the new game, so others have to wait on it. Jake says, thanks for the question. It's a bit of a tricky problem to solve because we want to make sure casual remains a quick experience. We don't want to create loopholes for potential abuse of ban systems. That said, we know this is an issue and we're looking into it to address it. That's cool though. I do agree, because when they changed the casual playlist became this thing where like you have to basically treat it with like you're either finishing this game or you're getting temporary banned. And for people that leave lobbies a lot with a full party and someone doesn't leave in time, it can also create this issue. And if they want to be like, oh shoot, I messed up, and then back out, then yeah, it's going to cause that issue. So these are things that you don't really think about. This is why like Q&A is super important, because as much as a developer wants to put time and effort into a certain system or a certain thing, sometimes you just don't think about this stuff. And it's always good because that's stuff they can go and adjust in the future. So, but primarily they don't want to, potential abuse of ban stuff, which makes sense. Will we ever see greater integration of RLCS into the game itself? Really like this question. Such as a tab or menu that loads the schedule in the current standings. I feel like it bring a lot more attention to retention of RLCS. Easy to check on those players. I should mention that I know you're redesigning your website for improved usage, but for console players, native integration in the game would be preferable than a separate webpage. Love that. Murdy, you guys should know. Murdy, obviously a big importance to the esports team. Something that's been on the esports team's wish list for a very long time. Right now, though, we're making a lot of changes to our overall esports ecosystem to help streamline how RLCS and other leagues around it work. Things like adding more regions, giving them their own Rocket League streams, refining the formats, adding more opportunities in the esports shop, and upgrading broadcaster piece we're putting into place before diving into the expanded in-game features for sports. We need a solid foundation to build upon, and with our way sports been growing, the esports team feels we're a really solid, close place. Developers of Psyonix are huge esports fans, so they know how important these in-game features are for their growing out, but they also have a million other things to do. Rest assured, it's on our radar, and we'll continue working to it for now, but right now we're focusing on perfecting all aspects of the esport itself, which makes sense. Obviously, before you start implementing in-game, you want to make sure that the stuff you're implementing is solidified, things that you can be reliable of, things that are going to be around for a really long time. And I think, and I have stated that right now feels like Psyonix is going to be starting to hit their stride. Usually the first 5 years of an esport is a learning process, and every esport does it. For some reason, every developer, rather than going and looking at other esports and being like, what things did they have to learn from, they decide to make those same mistakes themselves before they're like, oh, okay, learning experience, and then they do it. Right now, that's where it feels like Psyonix is at. 5 years of the esport, went through a lot of different issues, and are now at the point where they're like, all right, I think we got a good place where we're feeling that we can move forward. So Now we have the ability to start implementing some of this stuff in game, and it's coming at the perfect time with them working on the new engine, because Unreal Engine 5 is happening. Once they do that implementation of in-game stuff, kind of like how HLTV and everything else works for Counter-Strike, if we could get things in-game with the Esports tab where it shows the teams, the schedules, the players, stats, who's playing when, games are live, and then rather than having to go and watch through Twitch, you can watch a direct feed embedded in-game that allows me to pick whatever player I want to spectate, all that kind of stuff. All these things hopefully will become more and more possible in the future. It's just right now the priority is making sure that the scene itself runs and goes smoothly. And you can see that already, like the esports shot update bringing in like 32 teams and different decals. They got home and away and all that kind of stuff coming. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they're doing. So I like the nod to it. I'm like that they've wanted to do it. It's just a matter of actually being able to implement it.
Lawler,
Is
shut up.
easier said than done, right? Would you ever consider a spectator mode for the game? For example, spectator mode, select a ranked and queue up. Say you select Grand Champ and queue up, you load into their game as a spectator and have free reign to watch. If anyone in the lobby has disabled spectator mode, then you can't spectate their game. Would be a cool feature for when I'm bored. I could queue into SSL lobby and watch how they play. I could also select bronze and watch one of those lobbies for fun, etc. Jake says, we 1000% want to do this. It's simply been a significant tech lift in the past. We're getting close to having something here, but unfortunately we can't say much more than that just yet. And when exactly this form will take consideration. So it sounds like this is something they definitely want to do. The first time that I noticed this was actually with League of Legends. Way back in the League of Legends client, they would showcase like high-level challenger matches in random rotation. They didn't give you the ability to go and queue. You could right-click on somebody's name and then go spectate one of your friends' matches with a 3-minute delay, just so you couldn't provide information like the other people's jungle and all that kind of stuff. But they did allow you to watch pro level matches to an extent from high profile people that they deemed in the actual game client, which was really cool. It was just on a delay. And if they bring something like that to Rocket League, I think it is exciting for those that do want to go and spectate. I think temporarily for those that can't do that right now because the system isn't implemented, that's what Twitch is for. Come join us. If people like your favorite pros are streaming on Twitch, that's more reason to go and watch them. So case in point, we're streaming on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Lawler. We stream for every day but 2 times a week, Tuesday and Sundays usually. Come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. People in chat, you can literally see it right below me, are talking live. It's happening. Like, you can see it. Gizmock says if that doesn't work, they could post random ranked replays in game that you can watch instead. There's a lot of different things. People are saying hi to you. So come hang out with those people on Twitch. If there's pros and stuff or high level gameplay, go check out your favorite pros. That's how Twitch streams grow. Go support your people. It's a way to do it. What can you tell us about Unreal Engine 5 upgrade? When did development start? I know big software development projects are hard to estimate. But do you have any sense of timeline? Do you expect it will be done next year? Do you expect it to be a new application? This guy just wants to know everything about Unreal Engine 5, and I'm on the same side. We've been exploring a transition to the newer version of Unreal for quite some time, but the team was quite small until this year. We're not ready to share timelines yet, but the overall project, but we have goals to start testing next year. That's pretty crazy. Obviously, we'll need a lot of feedback from players and pros to ensure a complete rebuild of Rocket League feels right. Our general intent is that UE5 will replace the current Rocket League. Can't say for certain today if it will be a new application or a major patch. There are too many dependencies and details around how each platform works, content ownership, etc. Your inventory in Rocket League will carry forward and be supported and respected in UE5. That's amazing. So even they don't know. They don't know if it's just going to be a major patch update on current platforms or if it is going to be an entirely new client you have to download. That's actually pretty insane. The fact that they still aren't sure based upon the way that it's being built. For those that haven't seen the video, I end up sitting down and doing a conversation with Lethamir about the differences between Unreal Engine 3 and 5 and the transfer going over. But there's a lot of cool things. The best example we can give about some of the potential is you can go watch the RLCS and see some of the new graphics and hype chamber that they've been showcasing. All that's done in Unreal Engine 5. If you go watch the We Play event, you can go and actually check out some of the things they've done with their augmented reality. There's a lot of really cool things. The only downfall is if they do a completely new download, if they go to this new engine, most likely you're going to have to play on Epic Games. You're going to have to play on the Epic Games launcher. You're not going to be able to do it on Steam, which is pretty sad. And I see people in chat also recognizing that. I'm a Steam diehard. It's what I've been gaming on forever. I don't like a lot of these other launchers, but again, barely play Rocket League as is. So maybe for, a couple months out of the year, I have to log into the Epic Games launcher and get my GC rewards and then peace out again. Case in point, if we pull up my Steam, it's not good. 0.2 hours. We're crushing it. Look at us go. 0.2 hours. We play so much Rocket League. Nice. I know it says 4,200 hours overall. Like 80% of that is casting time. So our hours are pretty low. If I can hit GC, so can you. That's proof. That is proof that I literally don't play the game and can still do it. So no excuse for y'all. Get after it. Either way, you can expect that Steam support will probably go away over time, most likely. Will we ever see new map skins for Hoops and Drop Shot? Even rotating 3 or 4 map designs would be refreshing. Psyonix Adam, also a big fan of Adam. He does a lot of cool stuff with his brother. Thanks for the question. You're my first. A new Hoops map is something we've been long considering. As far as the new Drop Shot map goes, that map was a pretty big undertaking, and while we aren't completely closing the door on one, currently isn't in our future plans. And that's fair because of the way that the tiles and stuff work. It's a little bit more difficult. And getting that to make sure it works cleanly with things with Drop Shot isn't always the easiest for in-game coding, and then also implementing that map into the game. That's the benefit for Lethmir, which a lot of these comments have. Lethmir has the ability to make his own maps, and then he can just put it as a separate UDK. He doesn't have to make it so it works in-game client with server-based stuff. He does that all separate. So a little bit different than what he's doing. The other side of things too is to implement a new map altogether is it's a lot. Coding of it to implement it into an already standing client, it's a pain in the butt. Reskins are a little bit different. And a possible new Hoops map is pretty cool. I think it's something that they should definitely do. If only I cared about Hoops. You heard it here. I don't care for Hoops. I think Hoops is kind of poopy. I think the map's already way too small. I think Hoops variants would be cool. Give us a bigger Hoops map. Make it bigger. I'd be down for that. That'd be cool. But I do think for a lot of the people that play the different variants of the map, especially for Drop Shot and Hoots, if you played a ton, it would be cool if they ended up having different skins or different maps for it. Which RLCS teams are you guys rooting for? Yes. Nice. What are the odds we'll see random painted Rocket Pass items return? Everyone get the same thing as a bit of the killjoy. Corey says, we get why people like the surprise element. We had to remove them previously because they're purchasable and we no longer do randomized purchases. We want to take a broader look at how Rocket Pass content unlocks work. Can't say this will happen, but we'll definitely consider the interest of surprise rewards heavily when we do that. Yeah, people like the endorphin rush, 100%. People, and I agree with this guy, the fact that when I do a Rocket Pass, I know exactly when I'm going to get an item, that surprise element or that like, yo, I have a reason to grind because I don't know when I'm going to get the thing I want is there. You're taking that part away. And although you know exactly where you need to go, it kind of kills the excitement of the reason why I'm playing. I know exactly what I'm going to get before I even get it. It's kind of iffy, especially when the whole point is they're painted variants. Like you already have the base items. Moving forward, we want to make it all random. And the reason why they do that is because with their shop, as he's saying, is we want people to spend money in our shop. And if we put out a specific like titanium white thing, but you unlock it here, then why the heck are you even going to buy it? You know, it's as a company, it's kind of counterintuitive to give the RNG chance of you getting an item that they can sell in the shop that you may really want for like 20 bucks. So I understand that as a business, but on the other side of things, like it's RNG. Is it really going to hurt the purchases in comparison to a person who gets it randomly? Like how much does that outweigh? I'd be curious to see the difference in money spent in comparison to like it being in the shop and getting it randomly. Lulu says, let people equip each item. And as you get more XP, you unlock color variants. It'd be kind of cool. It'd be cool to, the more you use the item, the more it like levels up and then you get different things. It'd be interesting to get unlocks like that, like different like color skins. It's possible. Can we please get black market trade ups for tournament items? I have so many duplicates that I can't do anything with. Hey, great suggestion. Eventually there's an upper bound where you're going to have duplicates no matter what. But we'll see what we can do in the future and keep an eye out for the community suggestions like these. He's talking about, so when you play in tournaments and you get tournament rewards and you unlock a bunch, the ability to trade those up into black market would be ideal. Because if you have a bunch of exotics and they all suck, I'd much rather have the black market one. I agree with him on that. You can trade everything else to black market. Why not these? I agree with that. Why don't we have golden items anymore? Right now we haven't got golden pumpkins, we haven't golden eggs, etc. They say the drops obtained from complete challenges getting levels in the free track of the Rocket Pass are very similar, which is true. Right now they basically, when they came out with free to play, redid the challenge system to where if you do like the event right now, the Halloween one's going on, there is ways to get bonus XP and bonus items, I think, which is completely uncapped. So you can do that as much as you want based upon the amount of XP that you gain. And that's part of the reason. The golden egg stuff was, if you play enough games, you get 100 credits. You spend those credits to unlock, and then it gets this thing. So I think it's just a revamp of the challenge system. People who still want the old, even though the new kind of implements it. I get where Josh is coming from. Have you considered putting 2v2 and 3v3 tournaments on a daily rotation? One day, the 4 p.m. MST tournament is 2v2. The next, it's 3v3, and doing this for all time slots. The only tournament my buddies and I can play is that one. With the new update, one person is kind of left out. Kind of ruin the tournament experience for us. General thinking is that having a fairly regular schedule is important so that players can plan ahead accordingly. I agree. Consistency and simplicity is key when trying to get your team online to win these. Adding rotation to the mode without changing the time slot will remove some of that simplicity, but is worth consideration. Add more flexibility for players like yourself. Yeah, so right now, if I remember correctly, in the tournament-based system, they do 2v2, 3v3, and then sometimes like drop shot, rumble, you know, whatever it may be. They have a bunch of different tournaments for the extra game modes, and putting them on a daily rotation, meaning that for this day I have the ability to only play 2v2s. For this day I have the ability to play 3v3s. While right now it's like this time slot, this time slot, this time slot are 2s, this time slot, this time slot, this time slot are 3s. And the difficulty is if those time slots never work out, then you don't have the ability to, no matter what day it is, if you know, the only time you can play 3v3s with your buddies is 6 o'clock, and the 6 o'clock tournament is always 2v2, you're SOL. So this person asked that hopefully you go to a day rotation rather than a time rotation, which I can understand. I think it's tough to please everybody in that regard, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's better to have different types of tournaments on each day, and the reason why they have them to dedicated time slots is so you can plan ahead for it. But yeah, that's a tough one. I think both sides of the argument are going to happen. For some people, it's going to be good, and for others, they're going to be bad. Are you guys active against Smurfs? Detecting and combating Smurfs is a difficult problem, but we are constantly working on. We've seen other games opt for a more restrictive system to keep new accounts from interacting with certain areas of the game. And while that may work to a certain extent, we don't feel that's the right system for Rocket League. Our goal is to make Rocket League as accessible as possible, which is fair because the game is so unique and not like anything else. So I can definitely understand that. We've been putting in more work to combat the issues, being a little vague, but we don't want to make it easier for bad actors to circumvent our systems. I mean, it's tough. Smurfing is something that's always really difficult to get away and get rid of. I do think that the new account, when you're able to go and compete in ranked, is still too low because it does not take long to get to the level that you need to go and compete in ranked. But yeah, it's a pretty tough one. Smurfing is always something that's really tough to combat. So, but I understand the reasoning too of making it a little bit easier is because there is so many new players and a new influx, especially with free to play and Rocket League being such a unique game. I can understand it being a little bit more loose. Teddy the devs working on new maps. Why are they so infrequent? Maps take a lot of time and resources to make. Multiple factors that go into map creation, then just coming up with a cool idea and making it. Tell that to Lethmir. Jokes aside. Every new map starts with a concept pass, which alone takes a bit of time. And from there, the concept art goes through an approval process. All of that happens before you even start arting out a new map. A lot of approval stuff that has to go through legal, all that kind of stuff. Make sure they're not infringing on anything too. We then spend time balancing gameplay aspects, ensuring visual quality levels, adding features like Invisitech optimization passes to ensure the map runs well, etc. True, because they're not trying to make it just run on their PC. They got to make sure it runs on hundreds of thousands of millions of people's. And you guys saw what happened last time in the RLCS. Anytime any map has any performance dip, that doesn't make RLCS rotation. Any high level players that notice like, yo, Aquadome has this issue, and it hasn't been an issue for a while, but like that's just one more thing that they got to take into consideration. Again, it's much more than just me. You got to think about the entire player base. It's really tough. I want to know if it's possible for you guys to look into adding a feature to the inventory so I can search for items by their color or certification. Like if I type saffron into the search bar, I'd like to be able to see everything that's saffron. See, I do like that. There's a lot of times where I want to find all the same thing of one color. When I picked up an esports decal, I wanted to find all the things that fit that color scheme. And it's difficult because I can look up by painted, and I can look up by like what like quality it is, but I can't look up by just color. I would also love for that to be a global thing. Like I would love for the ability to look up my entire inventory, wheels, car bodies, everything. If I want to search titanium white and it gives me all my titanium white items, whether it be wheels, boosts, you name it, I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be really cool. They are planning to add features to help with that, which is cool. So fingers crossed on that. How do you feel as developers when a new mechanic is discovered by the community? Is it sort of horrifying to see people make use of unintended glitches in some cases? Wall change ass, or is it something that amazes you? How do you improve gameplay in a sport with fixed physics without hurting the existing user base? Will we see more creative game modes? I think we've scratched the surface of what can be done, and there needs to be an RL arcade where things like Less Rings map, game modes like the King of the Court, etc. You've developed something incredible in a world of new physics that people are addicted to. We love it when the skill ceiling is raised. It still blows us away when something like that changes skill appears. I can speak to you guys from things that I've heard from the developers as well. When they saw people go for ceiling shots or even air dribbles back in the day, they never thought that stuff would be possible. They had no idea the capability of what players have done, and they love it. Seeing people take something that you put your love and passions into and pushing it to the limit without breaking it. I know a lot of developers absolutely hate speedrunning and you know, using wall glitches and stuff to get out of the map and do stuff, because you put so much time into the, you know, the atmosphere of the game and everything else, and then someone just breaks it. But in a game like Rocket League, where it's not like people are going out of the map and breaking it, they're just using they're pushing the limits of a physics-based engine, is super cool. With wall chain dashing, the mechanic itself is fine, but we're keeping an eye on how it's implemented. Doing it with a controller through muscle memory, great. Doing it by binding it to the mouse wheel, not great. Exactly. And that's kind of the issue they have. They just have to make sure that you can't set scroll wheel to a keybind, and that would take care of it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, and this guy talks about how, like, using macros to do a stall to set up multiple flip resets. If you do it just by you pushing the mechanics versus you doing a macro, you can't do it. And macros are cheating. They've already stated that if you get caught using a macro, you will be in trouble. Recently, there was also the community made series where Athena had her community or her like bundle, creator bundles and stuff. It sounds like they're going to do something like that, but I don't think they've done like community goal explosions or anything. So like concepts that people have made. Community created cosmetics or something we have an interest in exploring in the future. A lot of talented designers within the community. We absolutely take note of these players posting beautiful content. That's cool. That's something that I think I wish they would have done from the very beginning. I think something Psyonix should definitely do if Unreal Engine 5 ends up having like a creative mode is they should do like quarterly creator map contests where they put out a prize pool. Creators can go and build maps, which then helps the community have a bunch of different things to play. But you put up a prize pool and you incentivize people to go make custom apps. I think any of that kind of stuff would be cool. And you could do that with goal explosion, wheels, arenas. Winners get stuff in game. They get a little bit of compensation for it. Stuff like that'd be sick. Made the post recommending more social type features. Voice chat is on track. What are you guys' thoughts on more social features, specifically features that facilitate a sense of community, comparison, and interaction? Community update said you guys heard our feedback, but what are your thoughts? Features like this coming, or are they lacking, lagging behind? Bring this up because Rocket League feels like a game you play and you don't really interact with other players, and even solo queuing just feels alone. Only places like the subreddit, Steam community forums, Discord servers, etc. bring that community. If you take CSGO, it has a sense of community through custom server browsers. A game like Halo 3 had a sense of community with custom games and file share. Jake says, thanks for question. Social is a major feature. Can't share details yet, but clubs, how to find other players and other things you will do, higher on our list, but to temper expectations, Unreal Engine 3 is one of the constraints. Again, which makes sense. A lot of people have just been talking about how limitations with Unreal Engine 3 is when 5 hits, there's going to be a lot of really crazy stuff that comes with it. So it does look like stuff like this with custom games is going to be massive. I am also interested to say they talk about clubs and possible club implementation in the future. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Updates on Sideswipe. Don't have anything to share on Sideswipe just yet, but you'll definitely be hearing from us before the end of the year. Okay. End of the year. Updates on Sideswipe. At some point when, we don't know. Why can't we free play with friends? This one's pretty cool. Something we're interested in exploring in the future, but free play was intended to be an offline mode that allows a single player to train or stay warm. In order to make that system work online, there are significant changes. Very true. I remember playing like FIFA and stuff when I was a kid, and you have the ability to like play half court with a friend while things are going on. I think that would be cool, and it's not as easy to load into a private match, do that, and then still queue at the same time. So I do think there needs to be a way for like especially pro teams that want to practice like passes and stuff. There just needs to be better like training options, which hopefully come again with Unreal Engine 5. Insight into esports decals, the design process. There was a super fun project that the esports team got to work on with so many other peeps at Psyonix and teams and designers in the community. Trying to create a custom decal while going back and forth with teams and then integrating them into the game was extremely hard and extremely time consuming, thus limiting the number of teams that they could do so. Long story short, we sent over design files of Octane, Dominus, and Phoenix to teams and gave them very specific guidelines. The goal is trying to maintain and make jerseys, which is why you see some strict guidelines in terms of where the logo can be placed. We also had some other small guidelines as well, like making sure the designs aren't too detailed. There's some intricate visual constraints. Designs getting blurry if the lines are too thin. Plus, since this is the first time we've ever done something like this, we wanted to on the side of caution and to make sure we could accomplish something super ambitious. We've done this to plan for future seasons, opening up design process a bit more. And that's cool. I mean, you've always got to test the waters. You got to be a little bit on the cautious side. You got to be very, very strict about things initially. And then as it becomes more and more fulfilled, and they can tend to be a bit more ambitious moving forward. So that makes sense. I understand the limitations early, making sure that people are within the guidelines. And then, because at the end of the day, you gotta be careful. You really can't open it up. So it does make sense with the limitations that they have, especially because you got to make sure stuff looks good. And then I'm sure after all that gets done and they're like, hey, this is what we have, Psyonix has to take it back, look over the 34 teams and be like, hey, we've got these, this is what we came up with, this is how it'll look in game, are you guys okay with it? And then it's a vetting process that goes through. So everything being more simplified is a lot. I am excited for away decals as well. Biggest challenge of getting that work done with introducing new regions, which is stated something we've always wanted to strike a delicate balance, because we have to make sure to introduce new regions that have enough depth and order. And they talk about this a lot in the announcement. It's always scary launching new regions, from straightforward stuff such as potential language barriers to making sure we choose the right administrators, talent, support staff. There's a lot that goes into it. Esports there's a lot of different roles in that stuff. And new issues and stuff are bound to happen, which they have to be able to tackle those effectively. Lastly, the biggest opportunity lies in making our esport a truly global sports league. I agree. It's a game that brings people together. I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, Rocket League lives on LAN. It's the best when it's on LAN, when we have the ability to actually do this on LAN, especially with a true Worlds experience, not just NAEU. Rocket League gonna go big. I'm excited for Rocket League to officially reach peak esports status. The next 2 years are gonna be pretty exciting for Rocket League esports. Can you tell us about the public API? It's been on the roadmap for years, but it's been a while since we've had official news. We understand that the API is really important to both community developers and the players that use their creations. Currently testing a new API endpoint with API token holders. And while plans are still beyond that, please know we're still in the process, which is pretty cool. If you guys don't know, the API is basically a system that's built into the game. And I'm trying to explain this in layman terms, but it basically allows you to associate things that auto-populate for a project that you may be working on. So for example, if I have a graphic on screen and I want to pull the stats that are in the post game, I can use an API to automatically implement those things and associate them to something that I'm working on. And they've been very secretive about it for a very long time. They haven't really let community figures or people use that stuff to get into more unique things. And those types of limitations do hold things back a little bit, but I understand the reasons for being secretive about it, because there is some people that will abuse it. So there's some pretty crazy stuff that you can do with it. But I'm glad to see that they are still working on it, but they are making progress. And that's all you can really ask for. For stuff like that, it's a tough one. All right. That is going to do it for the Psyonix Q&A. A lot of really good questions, actually, from the community in that. A lot of insight that's provided that I think is really cool. If there's additional questions that you guys have and possibly want me to pass along, and maybe I can try to get some answers for them, let me know in the comments down below. Certain things that you wish you would answer or have answered by not only Psyonix, but possibly myself as well. As you guys know, I do Q&As every Sunday that are populated by your guys' questions. So with that said, if you guys do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. We will catch you in the next one. Peace.